What's up, everybody? We're back to another Stand and Fight podcast. I'm your host, Rob Eastman, and I'm here with one of my favorite guys in the whole world when it comes to mentality towards fitness and in life in general. We have Arlo Gagestein. Is that how you say that?
That is, yep.
Gagestein.
Arlo Gagestein, yep. Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Rob.
Awesome to have you. So I met you a while ago, and we've been friends since, and when I first met you, you're one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met. And then we got on the mat, and I'm thinking, I don't know if this guy, and I couldn't do a single thing to you on the mat. You're very kind and dangerous, all in the same thing. And, you know, I just want to talk to you a little bit about your philosophies in fitness, in life, why you've done so many. I mean, you've written 2, 3, how many books?
Just two.
Two books
Yep.
that are healthy. I mean, they've got some stuff in them, and some wild philosophies and things that you do. So why don't you give us a little background on who you are, where you grew up, kind of family dynamic. It will help people see kind of where you are now.
Okay, sounds good. So I was one of 5 kids. My dad went TDY a lot with the Air Force. So he was a missile mechanic, and they sent him to Air Force bases all over when I was little. I don't remember any of that because we've been in Ogden, South Ogden, and Roy the majority of the time. But yeah, one of 5 kids, dead in the middle. And so I kind of just had to get used to being the middle child and having everything else go around me and just being satisfied with whatever was going on. And I think that's really made a big impact on who I was too. Adapting to whatever was happening. And
there's a lot of psychology behind that middle child deal.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing. If you struggled with anything growing up, if you got into sports, or if you were a loner or the cool kid, or, you know.
Right. So I definitely wasn't the cool kid. I had a lot of friends. Like, it's always been easy for me to make friends with just about anybody. I'm pretty easygoing, easy to get along with. So I was never popular, but I had friends, definitely. And just growing up, my family was very, very religious, I guess you'd say. My family, I grew up Christian Reformed, which is a lot like Presbyterian. My dad immigrated from the Netherlands, and the Christian Reformed denomination is pretty big over there. So that's kind of where I grew up, going to church every Sunday, and during the week we'd go to things on Wednesday nights, and just our whole family was entirely based around faith in Christ, and that really has shaped a lot of who I am. So
awesome. So where did you go to high school?
So I went to Roy High School, and I just remembered you said talk about sports and stuff. So as a kid, I played soccer and enjoyed soccer. Then I had a bad experience with a coach and dropped it. I'm like, I'm out of here. I don't want this anymore. But still love soccer. Yeah. Played tennis in high school and really enjoyed tennis. And then, so went to Roy High, graduated in 1995, which seems like forever ago now. I don't feel that
You're
old.
a year ahead of me.
But am I okay? Right. Yep, so Roy High, and then went to Weber State and played volleyball up there for their men's club team. And man, that's really where I got into fitness is through volleyball. So my entire life growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian, always loved animals, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And I got to college and I started going that route, and it was not what I wanted to do. So
what I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something my daughter, she's 10, and she's like, I want to be a veterinarian. I'm like, I'm not going to wait to pay for college to find out if she wants to. That's why we moved out to the farm.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Perfect.
If she spends time out there and she actually cares about it, gets into it, she's funny. So what drew you away from that?
So actually I was going around shadowing different veterinarians and just kind of seeing what they did. And honestly, I think it was the first time I watched a dog get neutered. I'm like, you know what? That's going to be the majority of my business, and I'm not interested.
Oh, that's funny. So volleyball.
Yes.
I grew up playing volleyball. I love that. I just played a lot of sand volleyball.
Right. Yeah.
But so how did that get you? Why did that get you into fitness?
Well, so about the time I decided that I did not want to be a veterinarian, I was still going to college, and I was lost. I'm like, well, I have no idea what I want to do now. So I thought briefly about Spanish, like, well, maybe I'll major in Spanish because that interested me, and I'd been taking some of those classes and had a lot of lot of real world experience with Spanish too, traveling around, working with Hispanic people and others. And then I realized, the only thing I can really do with Spanish is teach, and I don't really want to be a teacher. But I was playing volleyball and fascinated by human performance and trying on my own just to improve my performance, jump higher, move quicker, that kind of stuff, and protect my shoulders. And so that got me just playing around with fitness and experimenting with performance. And I realized I'm really fascinated by this, and this is something that I can see myself doing.
So how did you, what was the first, what was the first things you got into?
So honestly, it was all the elective recreational classes at Weber State. Yeah, I played, or I did most of those. Their karate classes, their badminton class, their anything they offered that was active. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try that. But then just like exercise physiology and stuff, started taking those classes as well. And man, it was fascinating, and I'm still fascinated by what the body's capable of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I always love your posts, because it's like the one that cracked me up. I was laughing out loud. You had one of your memories pop up, and it's you deadlifting over 400 pounds with rollerblades on, dude. I was dying. I was like, rollerblades are so funny, and then you knock it out on a freaking platform, deadlifting that, and that's where I love. Just since we met. All the different things that you throw in there, you're like, oh, there's a tire. We can flip that, but we could hit it with a sledgehammer while standing on it and see who can move it the farthest in 30 minutes. It's like all those types of things. So then you get out of college. Did you graduate with a?
Yeah. So I graduated with a degree in human performance management, it was called, but essentially it's exercise science.
So what does that take you into?
So I was working for an architectural firm at the time, and I was just the grunt. I would run over and run these errands, pick up these plans, do maintenance on the building, all kinds of that stuff. And then my boss was very generous when I graduated. He really let me kind of do whatever I wanted, and we started an employee wellness program for the architectural firm. And for a year, I did that, where I was essentially a trainer and a fitness consultant for the employees of the architectural firm. And we'd plan like weekend hikes and racquetball tournaments and different stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. But when people don't pay for stuff, a lot of times they don't appreciate it. Yeah. And I saw that a lot, where I would work with a lot of people that I'd design a program for them and I'd never see them again. I'm just like, well, this is kind of dumb. Yeah. I want to actually interact with people on a long-term basis rather than consult with them, give them something to do, and see them not do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the tough things with, and now today I'm seeing a lot, like when people say that's just not my thing.
Oh,
like how is keeping your body healthy? It has nothing to do with athletics. Right. Yeah, it doesn't. Sure. It has to do with you living a decent life and not being pumped full of prescription drugs because you're overweight or you're high blood pressure. Or all these things. It's like saying putting gas in your car isn't your thing.
Right.
Just leave it in your driveway.
Yep.
Right.
It's not my thing either, but I still have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're an architect, or you're doing that, and at some point, if you're anything like me, I was working at a disaster cleanup company.
Okay.
And I was training people for free in the park when I was in recovery. And I just had this burning in my soul, like I am not supposed to be out selling water damages. I need to be helping people, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Zach,
right.
What was your aha moment to make the switch?
It was kind of like that. Probably not so dramatic. I'm easily persuaded to do a lot of things, as you might have guessed. But so I was training some people on the side when I was doing the employee wellness. I had some other clients that were paying me that weren't affiliated with the architectural firm. And people just kept encouraging me, you should just open up your own place. I'm like, nah, that's probably not going to happen. And they kept at it. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll do it. And I did. And it was awesome. So I made a lot of mistakes, like we all do when we start a business. And I'm still making them, I'm sure. But
yeah, as long as we learn from them, right? So has it always, tell us the name of your company.
Competitive Edge Fitness.
And has that been that the entire time?
Yeah. It started out Competitive Edge Fitness and Nutrition. And technically it still is, but when I started, I had a dietitian that worked for me, and she's not there anymore. So now we're just kind of Competitive Edge Fitness.
Yeah. So what was the game plan starting the business? So we had the idea of people pushing.
Right. The game plan, there wasn't a very good game plan, so it took a while. We always tell people as trainers that without a goal, you're never going to get there, right? And I started out kind of without a goal, so I don't know how I pulled it off. But I'm like, no, this is cool. Let's do this for a while and just hope it grows. And we tried a lot of different things as far as advertising and stuff, and nothing really worked. And it ended up being just word of mouth that really grew. And I honestly, I think that's the best form of advertising is just if you provide a great service and people are pleased with the environment and with their results, they're going to tell their friends. And those are the kind of people you want in there anyway, rather than just whoever comes or from a mailer or whatever.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one of the things I learned the hard way. I've used 2 advertising agencies. The first one, send out a bunch of crap pictures of people train like they look like they're at Vasa, some lady, whatever, and got 0.
Oh, wow.
And then the sting of that bugged me for a few years, and then I got back to another one. They're like, oh yeah, we do this all day, this is what we do, $4,000 a month type of deal. And I'm just like, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Man, these guys don't know my business. We're not a big box gym. We're not, we don't do this stuff. And it's the same thing, man. You take care of your people and they're going to take care of you. That philosophy.
Sure. Yep.
So then when was that? When did you start it?
2005, January of 2005.
You've been doing it a minute.
It's been a while.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Oh, I don't
2005,
know.
what were we?
What was that?
So 26, 27?
Probably, yeah. Yeah,
is that your first business that you've run?
Yeah,
is your
for sure.
So you don't come from an entrepreneurial family background?
So no, not really. My father-in-law is very entrepreneurial, and he helped me a lot, definitely get started. So
talk about those fears opening. You have any insecurities about you and the business? And
not really. And unfortunately, that's one of my downfalls is that I honestly I don't worry about much at all, and it causes a lot of grief for my family, I'm sure. But it's like everything will work out, And I think part of that goes back to spirituality. I can't even say that word. What is that?
Spirituality.
Yes, that's the one. No, days. So like my belief is just that everything's going to work out, right? It's God's plan, and whatever happens, and that's kind of how I live my life, and I don't stress about things very much when I should, obviously, and I'd probably be more successful and stuff. But I've always been very optimistic as well, and man, I didn't really have any insecurities.
That's good.
Starting
I
out.
think the difference between you and other people that might be hearing this is that when you're doing the right things in life, you can have some confidence in moving forward, where you can't go out partying, acting stupid, and that God's plan is going to work its way out eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're helping people. You're making the best educated decisions as you're going.
Yeah.
Not hurting people.
Right.
All those types of things. So that's where when I got into it, coming from 18 years of drug addiction.
Yeah, for sure.
And other addictions and zero security, and I didn't have a plan. I didn't have it. I was always a good salesman.
Okay, and I'm a terrible
That's about
salesman.
It. So I could run my mouth and make things sound pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that my first idea of what Eastman Fitness was going to be, I came up with a business. I wrote up a business plan, and it's like, I just need 8,000 square feet and $80,000 from the investors, and I'd take it to these people that I thought loved me, right?
Yeah.
No. And I was so hurt. I was like, how can you not believe in me? And thank God they loved me enough to not give me a dime. Right. And I would have blown that up real quick, because there is a lot.
For sure.
The fitness industry, the health industry it's hard.
Yeah.
It's people don't, they do need it, but they don't need it. And you do one thing wrong, people are gone. You don't, it's a very, very cliquey industry. And for smaller individualized things like we do, it's you got to find that niche. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you open up. Then, how did you get into all the martial arts stuff? It
was kind of by chance. Like I've always been fascinated by martial arts. as probably every boy is growing up. I don't know. Yeah. but I mean, they're cool, right? And so I've always been fascinated by it, but never really pursued it beyond those rec classes at Weber State University. So one semester of Kenpo and whatever. But and so I was training a guy who he was a black belt in Kenpo and had been doing it his entire life. And
tell me what Kenpo is.
It's I'm trying to remember if it's
like karate and throws.
It's karate, yeah. There's not even any throws, I don't think. It's like
it's a different style of karate.
Yeah, we learned like how to fight multiple attackers coming from different angles. And
I trained that.
You block this and hammer fist here and groin kick here and all that. So anyway, so I was training this guy and lifelong Kenpo guy, and from my understanding, he was really, really good. But he said, if I ever get into a fight with someone who knows jiu-jitsu, I'm screwed. I'm going to lose. And I'm all, well, that's what I want to learn then, obviously.
Well, what's that?
So I'd never heard of jiu-jitsu, never watched UFC 1 or anything like that,
Yeah.
And so I had this in my mind that Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that's what I want to learn. And then I was training someone in their house, really big guy, couldn't get out of the house, so I was going to him. He lived in Sunset. And on the drive out there 3 times a week, I kept passing this little A-frame sign on the side of the road that said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And one day I'm like, well, I'm going to stop in and meet whoever this is and talk to him. And I've been going there ever since. So
that is so awesome. Where is it?
So it's Mori Training Center.
Gotcha.
With Eduardo Mori. But yeah.
So how old were you when you started that?
I've been doing it for about 12 years and I'm 42. So probably 30. Would have been when I was 30.
So 30 full gi style, like is it?
Yeah,
like
so
belted system.
Yes, yeah. So they do gi and no gi. Typically, there's. I'm trying to think. It's Monday, Wednesday is gi, and then Friday, Saturday is no gi.
So, for those of you that don't know what jiu-jitsu is, it's the ground fighting, chokes, arm bars, very uncomfortable, getting smothered and mangled and manipulated, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things. I wish I would have got into it back in the day just to work on my anger management.
Right,
you can't get angry. You can get angry in there, but somebody's gonna choke you.
Yeah,
you need that oxygen
for sure.
And that's been a good life builder. So. Tell us a little bit about your journey in jiu-jitsu.
So I've been doing it about 12 years. I've been really inconsistent. Like it hasn't ever been my top priority, which I kind of wish it had because I'd be better. Obviously, it's always been a huge love of mine since I started, but other priorities get in the way, like running a business and raising a family, and there's always something that interferes, and I have to put that stuff first. So I've definitely not been as consistent as I should be, but yeah, man, I love it, and I train any chance I get.
I say you've got lined up with some killers. How did you get lined up with the Souths?
So when I met Jake South, he was a blue belt and training at Mori Academy, and so I had my gym in South Ogden, and we started doing a small jiu-jitsu class there twice a week, and Jake was one of the people that would come and teach. So sometimes it'd be Eddie from Maury's, sometimes Jake. There was another guy, Rudy, that he'd send over to teach. So we kind of tied in with Maury and tried to start something like a branch off of Maury Academy at my gym. And it never really took off, but that's where I met Jake. So
nice.
And he and I have been friends ever since. So.
Yeah, I met him one day. They were in the back. I was getting ready to tape one of my fighters, and we just started talking.
Oh, okay.
His brother went to school with my wife.
Jason.
Okay. Yeah, they went to East or something.
Yeah.
And got talking, and I've followed Jake and Jason since, and they've long line of combat.
Right.
And they're
they're tough.
They're some tough dudes.
Absolutely.
I like watching him he's in his combat boots and his military pants, no shirt, and they're doing MMA in the ring, just beating the crap out of each other. Pretty awesome. So, tell me a little bit of like why your philosophies are the way they are on fitness. Like you take things to the next level. In how making the body work for you. So it's like I love it. I mean, I think it's amazing, and I think more people should train like that.
There's a lot of reasons. Like I've always I've always believed that the body functions as a unit and you should train it that way as opposed to like muscle isolation. I'm going to make my biceps bigger. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
From a functional standpoint and a standpoint of survival, it's pretty pointless in my opinion. So,
well, I look at your stuff. You're stronger than most of those big, huge bodybuilders. You're putting up way more weight than they are on rollerblades. Like, what?
So, I mean, the functionality of it is definitely one thing. The other thing is I get bored easily. Like, I mean, I can entertain myself all day with minimal stuff. Like I'm easily entertained, but I like to bounce around from one thing to the other. And if I were just in the gym lifting weights like everybody else, I'd get bored. And so I've always been creative and always liked to have fun. And so it just kind of goes from there. And I draw inspiration from wherever. I think the rollerblade thing, I saw somebody do it on YouTube. Like it was I can't remember his name, like Juju Mafu or something. The crazy long-haired guy that does all the wild. Okay, anyway. So he's like a huge power, or he's like a bodybuilder, but he's also a gymnast, and he's just wild. He has some wild videos. But I saw him do it in one of his videos. I'm like, I think I can do that. And so
it's like, that looks dangerous.
Right. Yeah, the motto that year was high risk, low reward.
So like tire drags, sluice tubes, like all these different things. How and why have you incorporated that stuff into your world? Mostly
because it's fun and it's different. I think that's one of the things that has really been a benefit to my business is just creativity and doing different things that people don't see anywhere else. So we have clients that come and usually a new client within the first couple of weeks will say something like, I have never done anything like this, or I've never seen anything like this. And it's fun. I'm enjoying it. So
that's so cool. So let's talk a little bit about your books.
Okay.
So tell me the first one.
So the first one was Warrior Core, and it's primarily a core training book, and it was targeted toward MMA fighters. And honestly, that was an experiment. So I had my second book is battle tested, and I started that long before Warrior Core. But I'm like, I have no idea how this book thing's going to work. So I'm going to do a short one with a lot of pictures and just see how it turns out and go from there. And so that became Warrior Core.
Awesome. So this one, your new one, battle tested. It says how to train like your life depends on it.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Why'd you come up with that?
So how to train like your life depends on it is it centers around functional training, like I was talking about, where in a real world scenario, what do I need to be prepared for? Kind of as opposed, again, I hate to pick on bodybuilders, but I do it a lot, so I guess we'll just roll with it.
No, it's
so
yeah.
And man, it's crazy. So the battle tested it's my entire training philosophy, mindset, training plans. It's a lot of corrective exercises, self-assessment, seeing where you're at, where you're prone to injury, and then addressing those issues. But the kind of the majority of it is just mindset and getting into the mindset of I need to be uncomfortable sometimes. Like I've met people who won't work out if they forgot their pre-workout, right? And I'm like, yeah, that is ridiculous.
Or they stop when they start to sweat.
Right. Yeah.
Like I have a lady, she's like, oh, I'm sweating. Yeah. Like, are you being serious? I couldn't tell if she's being serious or not because she was new, and I'm like, she was serious.
Wow.
Like she said, wait for me. No.
Yeah,
I'm putting the heater on. You're sweating one way or another.
Perfect,
I don't care.
Perfect.
That's part of the deal here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Like, hey, go flip that tire.
Yep. Yeah.
Get you all black.
Yeah, and I think there's so much to that. There's so much growth through discomfort. Like we're in our culture we get so addicted to being comfortable and shying away from anything that takes us outside of our comfort zone. And I think from a fitness and preparedness standpoint, that's the worst possible thing we can do. We get complacent. We shy away from things that we don't like and things that are going to take us out of our comfort zone. And really, if ever your life depended on it, which I mean, from a health standpoint, it does, but but in any other situation where your life might depend on your ability to defend yourself or to go through something hard, if you're not used to ever doing anything hard, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other trainers even they're on this supplement and this supplement and this supplement, and they have to do this and they have to do this. I'm like, man, if we're ever stranded on an island together, I'm walking away and you're probably not going to.
Yeah, I have that same deal. That's how I got into ultra marathons. Was I had just been divorced, just got out of rehab, and my ex-wife moved what ended up being 33.2 miles away. And I was very fearful that God was going to take my daughter from me in the form of like, if there was an earthquake and she was stuck in a house and I couldn't drive my car, could I get to her?
Oh, wow.
So I measured the distance, and my very next race was a 35-mile off-road race.
That's awesome.
And then that got me into obstacle racing, and I went and did the World Championship of Obstacle Racing, which is a 24-hour race, 7-meal wetsuit in freezing conditions.
Jeez.
And I thought I was going to die at least 15 times. I wanted to die at least 100. I made it 40 miles in like 140 obstacles before, and my hamstring blew.
Oh, wow.
And but those times, like, people are like, why would you do that?
Right.
It's like, because my whole life I ran from being uncomfortable. I avoided the things that made me anxious. I avoided the things that made me fearful. I'm sick of running.
Right.
I need to stand and face that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why I've clung on to you, because it's like somebody told me who you were or something, and I pulled it up, and you're in a video throwing a $400 45-pound Olympic bar out in the field. I'm like, why is this guy doing it? And then see you in the Scottish Highland Games, and like, I need to meet that guy, because I started in the park training people, and we'd run up to the B, which is up here, and I would have them grab the biggest rock they can get and carry it up the steepest hill we can find.
Oh, fantastic.
Like, why am I paying you to do this? Like, you'll know. Just get up there. And I find that if we didn't live in Utah, I don't know if I'd have a gym. I love the outside, the lifestyle stuff where, what happens if you fall asleep, you roll your car, your family's in trouble, it's snowing, and you're 5 to 10 miles away from a gas station.
Right.
And you can't find your phone or something. Do you sit and you're just like, sorry, I can't run?
Yeah.
Like, you train in perfect conditions year round, and then you get in a hot day or a cold day and you can't go outside.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I think where our philosophies
I think so.
line up. And it's like, I'm going to take my shoes and socks off and run through the snow and see how far I can go before my toes fall off.
Right, for sure.
So tell me a little bit more about this book.
Okay, so it's in various parts. So the first part is all kind of the needs assessment, kind of what you need so it's geared toward military and martial artists and law enforcement. Those are the kind of people that I enjoy working with the most. And so we kind of look at what makes a warrior, and like from a physical training standpoint, but also from the mental side of it. And so that's the big part of it. And then the second part is making it personal, where you take a deep look at yourself and see where, like I mentioned before, where am I lacking? What kind of things do I need to work on? What injuries do I have, and how can I address those? And then the last part is just a program. But
I was going to stop you right there.
Okay,
Let's talk to my listeners about that last part. Taking a look at yourself and how to assess that, not get down on yourself because this is where you're at, but that's the blueprint of where you're at, and how can I move forward? What would you suggest those people that are struggling, if they, we use fitness, and maybe, I don't know if you have ever struggled with depression or anxiety or any of those things, but it's really all about seeing what's wrong and getting a plan and moving forward.
Absolutely.
Like, whether you bench 20 pounds or 220 pounds, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's your starting point. That's when people get on the scale the first time. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so, like, you're here.
Yeah.
That number doesn't matter. That's just, that's your zero.
Definitely.
Are we going negative, or are we going positive? Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
So we try and get that mindset. What is your approach to people when they come in? Like, how do you change their mindset? What do you do to inspire or motivate them to get on their own train and not need you to be the motivator, but to teach them how to motivate?
Right. So I think one of the first things we try and do is identify their goals, and then really dig into that and say, well, why? Like, what is your why? Why do you want to reach these goals? And it has to be something that when they're not motivated anymore, when they want to give up, they can look at their why and say, well, this is why I need to do it. Whether it's to live longer, to be a good dad to their parents, or I don't know, anything. They could be, or not a dad to their kids, not their parents, whatever.
I knew what you meant.
So I work with a lot of people where that's just it. They're overweight and they can't go hiking with their kids, and they're like, I need to spend quality time with my kids, and right now I can't do it. So whatever the why is, it has to be something powerful, and you have to not focus on the goal so much as the why behind the goal.
Yeah. I think that's, everybody's like, well, why do you do the life coaching? And I'm like, I've never had a single person come through that door that just wanted to get fit. Like, I just want bigger this. Like, my husband said I'm ugly, or my wife thinks I'm fat, or I can't get out of bed in the morning. I have a hard time putting my it's always something else. And fitness seems to be the key to a lot of things. Your body producing the right chemicals and not feeding it full of other chemical. It's crazy how this thing works, and it's America's getting its butt kicked.
Yes,
bad. Do you remember talking to me about, what do you call it, a paleo squat? Being able to keep your heels on the ground and be able to sit on your ankles, and you talked to me about how Asia and those places.
Oh, right.
They don't have the comfort that we do.
I can't remember what I called it, but yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've traveled a lot, honestly, all over the place, and Americans are some of the only people that use chairs like all the time. We sit all the time, and in the majority of the world, they don't do that. They squat their butt to their ankles, and they sit there and they cook dinner over a fire. It's pretty wild. And it's a very natural movement, but most Americans can't do it. It hurts our knees, it hurts our hips, we can't get low enough, we can't keep our heels down. And I think a lot of it's a byproduct of that we sit for everything and just sit and relax, and instead of being in that core engaged, legs engaged position doing everything that needs to be done. And if you look at kids, like little kids, when they first learn to stand, they'll sit in that position and play for hours, and somehow we screw it up as we get older. So
ever since that day, I've worked on it so hard, and I've gotten to the point now where I can do it after a few minutes.
Oh, nice. Good.
But all with my wrestlers, with everything. I think what happened is we were getting trained in maybe the 60s, I don't know, but the 70s and 80s, stopping at a 90 degree with the weight on our back, and you don't want to go below that. And it's like, most of these guys can't even do a squat, a body weight squat, let alone now we're going to stack some weight on their back.
Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't make any sense. So I think that, man, I love all those types of things. So
good. So all of that's in there too, in the book. Yep. Battle Tested has a lot of that kind of stuff. Little, we call them immediate action, little drills and stuff that you can do, and where it's just take 5 minutes and do this now, because if you're like, oh, I'll do it another time, you're not going to come back to it. So stop right now, reading or whatever else you're doing, and do this.
So I'm glad I opened up to this. I was just barely talking about you the other day to somebody who was telling me, I can't remember, they were complaining about something, and I'm like, you want me to tell you about my buddy? Him and his buddies get together, and they grab weights, and they grab mats, and they hike up to the freaking mountains, and they have a jujitsu tournament for a couple of days, and then they come back down. And I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, and they just stood there looking at me like, what? And then they got back to work. So tell me about this. How'd you guys come up with it? Tell them what it is, why you came up with it in the first place.
All right.
And kind of explain what I'm looking at here. Or I'm going to explain what I'm looking at.
Okay,
I'm sitting here.
Sounds good.
It looks like there's mountains and cliffs and way up in the mountains. And then there's 5 dudes in their gis with a wrestling mat out in the backcountry. So... explain that one. I bet the park ranger, if he came by, he probably would have called the drug enforcement club to come and see what these dudes are doing. Right. Pretty rad.
We talked to a couple park rangers on the hike in, and they loved it. They just said, you better not leave those mats up there.
Yeah, I bet that's fun. We are not dumping. They are $800 a roll.
Yeah. So I hang out with some weird friends. Like people like you and I are drawn to each other because of our mindset, I think. And a lot of the people that I hang out with we have the same mindset. We like to do hard things. We like to challenge ourselves, and we like to be uncomfortable, because I think you grow a lot in in areas of discomfort. So it kind of started, man, let's look back. So I was in California visiting my wife's grandparents, and I saw this crazy show on some obscure channel where they had this cooking competition where nobody knew when it was going to be or where it was going to be, and they get like a message 24 hours out saying this competition's happening in 24 hours, and if you make it, great, you're in. If not, then you're not. And they get together and have this competition. I'm like, that's life, you know. You never know when something bad's going to happen, and I liked the idea, and so I immediately started texting my friend, the Ginger Ninja, we call him. That's him right there.
By the way, did he tell you I met him?
Oh, no, did you?
So we're sitting there at this little taco joint around the corner from, I think it might be right on, I don't know, but it's full Hispanic taco joint. No AC up in there, but really good tacos.
Nice.
And I'm looking at him like, that's got to be that dude. And he sees me looking, kind of getting a little uncomfortable. He goes outside. I go outside. I'm like, hey, I know you. He's like, oh, did we train together? I was like, no, you're Arlo's buddy. So
that's funny. Anyway, yeah. So I started texting back and forth with him. Of my weird, crazy friends, he's the one that I go to first usually because he's down for anything. Some of my friends, even though they're a bit off, they'll say no way, but he's up for anything. So
must be
quick story about him. I can't remember where they were driving back from, middle of the summer, just for you to get an idea of what kind of person he is. He and like 4 other guys in this little car driving back from somewhere like Vegas or something in the middle of the summer, and they decide to turn on the heater and roll up the windows and just see who lasts the longest. So he's my kind of people.
Yeah. But I'm bored. Let's do something crazy.
Right. Anyway, so I text back and forth with him. I'm like, we should have these tournaments, which we do. We do tournaments at least once a year, but sometimes more than that, where we invite the toughest people we know usually. So Jake is one of them that's almost always there, and Tiny. I don't know if you've ever met Tiny. He's like 6'8", and he's 260 plus pounds, and he's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy. Anyway,
that's scary.
He's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
He's terrifying.
That big and good.
Like as a purple belt, he's destroying most of the black belts that he rolls. You know,
wow.
But anyway, so we invite a certain amount of guys, and we try and come up with something that's going to make it worse. Like, so it's typically a combination jiu-jitsu tournament plus strongman competition plus whatever else we can throw in. So our first one was the Cold Combat Challenge, and I had this garage at the time. It was that we called the Lair. So middle of winter, it was December 31st, I think, honestly. And we open up all these 4 big garage doors, and we have sweatshirts under our gis, and we're rolling in the cold. You know, the whole competition took place in the cold. So the Cold Combat Challenge. And then we're like, well, what else can we come up with? And one idea that we came up with was Summit and Submit, where we'd hike up to Kings Peak, which is the tallest in Utah. I think it's 13,528 feet or something, and have a jiu-jitsu tournament up there. And so that's where that was. So we hiked in 11 miles to the base of the peak. Like you couldn't, there's not enough room for mats on top of the peak, and there's lightning and stuff fairly frequently. So we hike into a flat place, and we didn't know where we were going to do it. We took our mats up there with the intent of having a tournament up there. And we actually ran into park rangers, like I said, on the way, and told them what we were doing, and they thought we were crazy, but they thought it was awesome, and they recommended a place for us to stop and do it. And so that's where we ended up. But it was 11 miles in, and we hiked in with weight plates as well. And as soon as we got there, so we stopped. We had the jiu-jitsu tournament, then we had a strongman competition where we threw weight plates for distance and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
And did different things. And then the next morning, we hiked the remaining 3 miles up to the top of Kings Peak, and then back down, and then packed out the very next day.
After having been to elevations,
yes.
It's for you, those of you that don't know, you have a hard time breathing in the valley. Add 10,000 to that or whatever. My brother just got back, and his boy, he almost died up there.
Oh, really?
From altitude sickness, lungs filled up, and my brother almost did in Everest. So that's no joke.
Right, for sure. We weren't that high, anywhere close, but
well, you're still. I mean, you're still bumping up. 7,000 from where you live.
It definitely made jiu-jitsu harder.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so how do people find you? How do people find your book?
So really, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and if you just search Battle Tested Book on any of those, you should be able to find us.
That is awesome. So if you have one message to my listeners about standing up and facing life and being prepared for life, what would it be?
I think just back to it's kind of cliche now, but it's so true. Just get comfortable being uncomfortable. And realize that, yeah, life's going to suck sometimes, but you got to push forward and get out of it.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Stand and Fight, and it's after my tattoo. I have a tattoo that says it's better to stand and fight. If you run, you will only die tired. What does that mean to you?
Man, I love that. Yep, for sure. You'll only die tired.
So what does that mean to you?
I think it's like obstacles aren't going to get any better if you run from them. I mean, there's no way. It's still going to be there. But if you stand and face it and do whatever you have to do to get through that obstacle, you're going to be out of it a lot quicker. Yeah. And it's not going to haunt you the rest of your life, right?
That's the big one. Like, as a kid, if you're an adult and you're teaching your kids, like, oh, yeah, he has anxiety because I have anxiety and I understand that.
Right.
Like, do you want him to live with that, or do you want to teach him the skills to not have to live with that?
Absolutely.
Like, I think there's too much protection, not enough preparation.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wish I would have learned. I had to learn things at 31 that I should have learned at 13. It's like, if you don't want to be anxious anymore, whatever makes you feel anxious, you need to go sit and do that until you can walk through it and have somebody walk you through those emotions until it's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
Not run from it, because when you run from it, and it grows and it grows and it grows and you get to be an adult, and then your world's pretty small.
Right.
Of the things that you can do. So, anyways, dude, it's been a pleasure having you.
Absolutely.
I always love chatting with you. Listeners, make sure you look him up. He is amazing. He's got some wild videos and things that he does. Tell us real quick what you just did for your birthday. Like, most people go to the bar for their birthday or go to dinner.
Right.
Tell us what you did.
So I just turned 42 on Sunday. And so on Monday, I pulled my Toyota Tundra for 4.2 miles. And it goes back to me being easily persuaded. Like, on my 40th birthday, I had a bunch of people come out and accompany my birthday workout and celebrate with me. And we try and do a birthday workout every year that somehow ties into our age. But one of the guys said, we were trying to figure out, well, what can we do for my 42nd birthday? He's all, you should pull your truck for 4.2 miles. And I'm like, I've never pulled it for more than like sorry, my phone's ringing. Let me turn that off. I've never pulled it for more than like 50 yards, you know? Yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And it was far enough out. I'm like, well, if I put forth the effort and train for it, then I'll be able to do it. And I got worried. So the parking lot where we train is slightly uphill. Mm-hmm. And I had gone like 3 weeks before my birthday. The furthest I had gone was a quarter of a mile, but it's up that slight incline. And I'm like, at this pace, it is literally going to take me 16 hours to do this.
Oh, you said
and I was starting to get worried. I'm like, man, I felt confident that I can do it. And I still did. I'm like, I know I can do it. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. Am I going to be out there all day and all night or what? I'm going to do it regardless. But
I love that.
But yeah, it went so much better. I got on relatively flat ground and we busted out the full 4.2 miles in just under 6 hours. So wow. I was very pleased.
That is so cool, man. Well, you're an inspiration to me, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the man you are. And thanks for coming out, man.
Absolutely. It's an honor to join you. Thank you.